Okay, we can discuss but can't decide, so,
Nick's coming in, he's outside talking on the phone.
but even though we don't have a quorum.
That's not gonna make it, we're still one short.
So minutes can't be approved, we can discuss old business, hey Nick, how are you? You still don't make a quorum, so you're here but you're not, I mean, you know, whatever. We're happy to see you.
You're here, but it doesn't mean
You're inconsequential. You're inconsequential, yes. And I have no authority here. I also have no responsibility.
Steve, could you just give us a quick second? We're
Sure.
using a new recording.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Really noted.
Okay, and as long as that's muted. Okay.
If it's okay with you, Karen, we'll call the roll and then declare we don't have a quorum, and then we'll just kind of coast. Okay, so I'm attempting to call to order meeting of the Long Range Planning Committee for Will County 911 ETSB on Wednesday, February 19th at 11:33. We'll call the roll, recognizing we probably don't have a quorum.
Okay, Mr. Dameron, who was going to be absent, Mr. Exner, who's going to be absent. Ms. Hart is not here, Ms. Knudsen? Here. Mr. Mort is absent, Mr. Palmer?
Here.
Mr. Router?
Here.
Mr. Riddle?
Here.
Ms. Thuringer?
Here.
And Mr. Bierman is absent.
So we do not have a quorum, so that's so noted in the record. We cannot approve the minutes. We can discuss but not decide. So CAD Mobile Records update to Premier One. We discussed this a little bit earlier in a meeting just to give us an overview for the November 4th turn on. But anything you want to add, Dale?
No, I mean, everything you guys got pretty much an update on the reason it's been moved out to November 4th.
Okay, MCOR project is on schedule. EastCom is up and running fine, and there was a preliminary test between EastCom and WestCom as far as the two halves talking to each other. I understand that went well, correct?
Yeah, correct. They did. What we're having on planning is Friday they're going to be out testing the microwave link between WestCom and EastCom. We didn't see any issues, but they have to certify it. Motorola does. Tuesday we will be bringing up the WestCom MCOR, doing the acceptance testing on it. Some background configuration will be done so Bolingbrook and EastCom look at the WestCom 4 as the primary, and at the end of Tuesday we'll shut it down and they'll both switch over, and then EastCom will go live March 5th on their core. If you happen to get yours up before then, that's great. If not, we plan to have Bolingbrook and EastCom run off of the EastCom 4 until you're up.
Okay. WestCom building project, we have a few slips. The generators need to be certified, and there's some additional installation work to be done. We're looking at one of the two generators being online for March 10th. We're still looking for an April 28th turn on. It looks like we will be able to meet that April 28th date. We've had some back order issues for the doors that are tornado rated. We kind of found out the hard way that it's one thing to have a tornado rated door, it's another thing to have card key access for those tornado rated doors, and it's a third thing to have tornado rated doors with card key access that's ADA compliant. So we've been going through some machinations to try to get all that figured out, and there's been a little bit of a delay getting that all bundled together. DUCOM was out yesterday. They're in the process of designing a second building, so they visited us with a fairly substantial design team. I'm also getting phone calls from Lake County and others on the building design, so things are working pretty good there. We're hoping to get a certificate of occupancy on March 10th. We've got a lot more work to do in the building before we can occupy it. So, but we're doing okay. If you want to stop out and take a look, please let me know. Motorola bundle project. If you recall, a while back we engaged Motorola to almost future-proof us as far as updates and things like that. And either Dale or Steve want to comment on that?
On the radio console side, basically it falls in the same with the MCOR, EastCom, Bolingbrook. are up, they're running, they're doing training, dispatcher training this week out at Eastcom for Bolingbrook and Eastcom, so if Romaville gets more alarms, I called this morning to let them know.
You did.
Okay,
They're working.
they're using my Starcom radio to do the emergency testing. So Romaville has our talk group, so they get the alarm. So that's going up and as planned, no real issues with that. On the disaster recovery side of that, for the CAD, Jeremy's working with HP. We have those trip light cabinets that we use, so everything matches there in your center. So we have to get a trip light cabinet out to HP. HP's agreed to install on our trip light and then certify it. There was a concern that if we moved the equipment after it got here, what the warranty would be about it. So HP's agreed to do that for us, so that's getting worked out. I'm not sure if there's anything else on it. The rest is just with the CAD project, the accident module, they're working on, and the data conversion. So that's it.
Okay. County radio project, consulting, I think has been awarded, correct? Anybody know what's going on with the county radio system?
Yes.
Vendor's been selected, I guess RFP is in process
The RFP's done, the contract's supposed to be approved by the county board on Thursday.
for the consultant, not
For
for
the
the
consultant.
system here.
No, there's no RFP out for the rail system, just consulting.
Okay. Okay, new business, there's been some discussion on the Stager Eastcom consolidation. I don't know if Pam wants to discuss some of that, or Dale?
At the February 5th meeting with my board directors, we officially approved the consolidation of Staker PSAP to come to Eastcom, increasing our agencies from 11 to 16. That should happen probably April 1st.
Okay. And we can't take action on the motions, plural, but I would assume these motions are also going to appear at F&E Monday, is that correct, Steve? Or-
Well, if we reschedule to Monday, we haven't talked about rescheduled date yet, but we'd like to get it rescheduled before the board meeting.
Is
So
your
we could
thought
get
maybe
this
we should
on-
reconvene this committee also on Monday and then go from that, from the long range planning into F&E and then get it all knocked out?
FNE isn't looking at the intergovernmental agreement,
No,
just long range.
sorry, so we need to get it done.
So either we send it to the full board without committee approval and recommend, a formal recommendation, or we can either meet long range before or after the rescheduled FNE on Monday, or we can just send it to the board.
So a couple things are happening here. In order for Stager to dissolve and go to Eastcom, they need to get call handling agreements from all of the Stager agencies for Eastcom. We have an existing integral agreement with South Chicago Heights and Will County regarding their participation in Stager, which was rewritten to include Eastcom, and the attorneys looked at that and approved it. Was sent to them on Friday. They had their board meeting on Monday, and I don't know if it was addressed in their board meeting or not, but that needs to be signed by them and by our board. And then we need to do a plan modification at ICC and get all that approved, and hopefully back before April 1st, when Stager's contracts expire and they want to be in that Eastcom. So time is of the importance right now.
South Heights did meet on Monday and they did approve that, and Chief Nardone had delivered that to me. And
The intergovernmental agreement?
Yes.
Great. They were
And-
supposed to, I just didn't know for sure.
Yeah, and they
Fantastic.
also signed the IGUs for both Stager and South Heights, signed the IGUs between
Great.
Eastcom.
So South Chicago Heights is getting their part of this done, that's
Yes.
great, thank you. Eastcom's board is asking for a buy-in for the 5 agencies from Stager to accommodate that transition. They're looking at $55,336 for each of the 5 agencies, or a total of $278,684. We've done buy-ins before, as I indicated in my report to you. We did buy-ins for Manhattan Police and at $39,000. We've done Braidwood's buy-in for Westcom at $46,000 for fire and police. And most recently we did in 2009 the 5 Lincoln Fire Departments for $50,000 each. So they seem to be kind of going up in about $5,000 increments, but they're looking, again, can't make the motion and make the approval right now unless we either reconvene or take it right to the board, but they're looking for those buy-in fees to assist with this consolidation.
The
by April
amount of
1st.
that buy-in might be why Steve was saying, or questioning, whether or not it was going to be addressed by F&E.
Right.
So should we maybe just put this buy-in portion, like the IGA is really kind of a no-brainer, we just replaced words.
Right.
But the buy-in, I think, needs some discussion in committee before it goes to the board, in a formal.
Well, I guess we don't have a quorum for F&E later either, correct?
For later, for Monday?
For today.
For
Oh,
today.
for F&E, no, for F&E we don't.
So, do you want to stack these three committees Monday and just,
Well, that would
do
be the
business,
best-
because-
that'd be the best recommendation I could make is
why don't we do that? Do you have any problem with that, Julie? I mean, I think we should do that to get it all vetted out. I know there's some concern, and there should be some discussion on past history. The buy-in, to me, the numbers look well within bounds as far as what we've done in the past. The only question is kind of an outlier. I need a little bit better understanding of the South Chicago Heights, since I believe it's a fully Cook County oriented agency, correct? South Chicago Heights? They're fully in
But they're
Cook County.
currently in with us, they have been with state.
Understood.
Yeah,
The question,
geographically, they're Cook County, yes.
do they, refresh my, refresh,
Did we pay them buy-in to go to East County to
No.
begin with?
No,
refresh my
they-
memory.
No.
Were they their own ETSB or they're part of the Cook
They
County?
still are their own ETSB,
So,
on paper only,
so we are getting their revenue.
from them.
Correct, okay. That's the difference there. We are getting,
Yeah, they collect revenue from the ICC and they send Karen a check and the first of the month every month.
okay. But I think everybody needs to know all those circumstances. I think all this is well within line
And that's
with
what the
what we've done.
intergovernmental agreement is.
Exactly. So I would recommend that you announce a stack of the three committees just to get this thing knocked
Well,
out.
Well, we don't know if we need
We're
personnel
not, we
yet.
don't know yet, so we're gonna work through the day, but,
Okay.
so if we do reconvene till Monday, then what's a good time?
Other than that Illinois 911 Advisory Committee conference call, which I can skip, I mean, I don't have to be there.
Well, we could get through most of it.
I'm open Monday, I mean, that's fine by me. I don't know what the rest of the committee members look like, but
Well, I just rescheduled F&E for 1, so,
we'll back them up like we do typically on a day like today.
that'd probably be the best choice.
Okay.
Can we go for like 12:30? Half hour enough? I think the only issue we really have to talk about is the stake or.
I'm okay with that. You okay with that? Yeah, I mean, okay.
Everybody here okay with 12:30 on Monday?
I think F&E might go a little bit long, but
F&E will.
This
That's
one-
why I just prefer to have long range before
Yep.
F&E,
Well,
because
yep.
that's when I go long.
But I don't think F&E, I don't think long range is gonna go
No.
that long. I think we'll be done easily
Correct.
within a half hour, so.
okay.
Okay, and then we'll just see how personnel goes, and if we have to put them in, we'll put them in at noon.
Well, right now, if everybody stays for personnel, we'll have a
We
quorum
should
for
be okay,
personnel.
yeah, we should be okay.
Well, as long as Tom comes, you said Tom is coming.
Okay.
Tom is
told
coming.
me he was coming.
Yeah, I saw him earlier this morning and he will be here.
Yeah, he should be here.
Okay, we'll
Okay.
just do it that way then.
Are we gonna, do we wanna discuss on Monday, or,
Mhm.
how the amounts are decided though, about buy-ins?
Sure.
I actually was under the misconception, I'm embarrassed to say it, but I'm just gonna be honest, I was under the misconception that we had a flat rate that we.
No. What has typically, well, maybe not a flat rate, but I think we've had agreement for many years, and Pam and I were talking about this before the meeting, is that I think we've had a pretty good track record of a formula or at least a framework. As an example, in my case, we took the $600,000 that went towards the build-out of the Plainfield Police Station change order for their building. So the 14th agency coming in would take a 14th of that 600,000 as if they were contributing to the reserves all along. And I can't speak for Pam, but I think the exact same pattern is they took their capital costs that they've had over the years, and they've used a very, very similar formula as if those folks were there from the beginning, contributing to the reserves to build out whatever they've got. So I think the framework has been there. I think ironically the numbers have always been close. I think that's just happenstance. But the framework I think has been fairly consistent. I went from 13 agencies to 19, and we've used the same formula each time. And you're using a very similar thing that you used in '98. Going back to '98 as well as today. So I think the framework has had examples 3 times now. Or more, actually, more than that. A couple times with me, twice with you. So the framework has always been consistent. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
It does answer my question. I'm just concerned, as I always am, about how much money we have in our coffers and how much, you know, our spending just keeps going up. I mean, it's the same, mantra over here about, you know, should we set a cap? Should we say, you know, should we set, because we just haven't. It's, you know, past practice by and large with this buy-in stuff.
Well, and what Steve, you're saying is it's been consistent. We don't have a formal policy though.
But that's right. It's been proposed each time by the effective PSAT.
Right.
It's been brought up. I don't know if that has been officially adopted as the framework being
Or
a
even
policy.
if we want to, or if we just want to set a limit, or, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or if
It
we
sounds
just
like
want
what
to
we need to
discuss
do
it on
is-
Monday.
Sounds like what we need to do is just write down what we've done.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a little bit different, and just talking out loud here, when it comes time for the 20th. When it comes time for the 20th agency to enter the new Westcom, since we have paid $420,000 for land, and we've already done a downstroke of about $450 for
The buy-in
engineering.
would be a lot more.
Exactly. So this may be a perfectly appropriate time to talk about that framework or limits or whatever.
Right. Because obviously we want to continue to encourage consolidation as an ETSB. I'm all for that. But without any limits and setting a past practice that says we paid your buy-in, it just could get a little scary. So maybe we could discuss that, or your committee could discuss that.
Yep.
on Monday.
Yep, we certainly will. And I know Dave Riddle's got some concerns about the Cook County aspect of it, but we should get all that stuff out on the floor for the next meeting. Okay, anything else on that fine topic? Just, there's something, and I pointed this out to Kim and Pam earlier, is that there's 2 events that is going to happen with the Stager consolidation. And I think it's a big deal, but I'm not sure if it's registered with everybody yet, is the fact that the 2 consoles from Stager, one is going to go to the sheriff's office, and for the first time, the sheriff's office will have full access to the entire radio network throughout the county. That's huge.
I didn't even know that was happening.
The second console would be going to the EOC, and again, for the first time, the Will County EOC will have access to, in essence, all radio systems in the county. Those 2 items are huge. Now, I don't know if that was a decision made by staff or whatever, but man, do I endorse it. But there is some benefit to this consolidation up front, immediate.
At the technology meeting, staff offered.
Yay!
Staff offered to the EOC and Sheriff's Department if they would like to have one of those councils each from state.
You're talking about radio
The
conference.
radio council, correct, the Motorola Radio Council. So they would have it, because we came across a situation where most of the resources that are non-StarCom at those agencies, the EOC and the Sheriff's Department would lose connectivity to, because they will no longer be on the Harris switch. So as we discussed, if we have these extra councils, I've already inquired to Motorola what it would cost just to move them.
Where are they putting them?
Sheriff's Department's gonna put it at the supervisor's position is where they would like to put it, and at the EOC, I told Harold, basically all it needs is 2 network connections, they can really put it anywhere they want it. So he was gonna look. So I brought up the technology for the idea, everyone seemed to be okay with it, we're waiting on a cost from Motorola to say what's it gonna cost just to move there's very little they need to move, because there's no backroom equipment for them, but a
Right.
switch. But how much that's gonna cost, see if it's cost effective or not, to move them. So there's no official motion to do it yet until we get costs,
Yeah.
but that's our plan,
Should be.
to give them conductivity still to the centers that are on rural counties.
And with Eastcom doing what it's doing, with Lincoln Way doing what it's doing, with what Westcom's doing, all of a sudden, we're gonna have true, interoperability
Well, it was
through
very-
the comm center.
It was very nice, not that the event was nice, but when Romeo and Bill had its event, we listened. It was very nice to be able to do.
At the
Did you know
council,
that we were listening?
the council furniture has been offered to Lincoln Way, gonna take a look and see if they want that, and the Viper and everything's gonna be part of the bill for Kim's Viper, so everything that we have there is gonna be used, within our system.
Okay, anything else on that? Legislative endorsements, this has been a very hot topic in the last few weeks at Springfield. We've been in touch with Illinois Fire Chiefs legislative folks, we've been in touch with APCO-NENA legislative folks, we've been in touch with some of our local senators and reps, and there are a lot of bills floating around right now, and several of them have to do with personnel policy matters. Some of it has to do with collective bargaining. Some of it has to do with the sealing of records for departure agreements for certain employees, 911 audio records being released or not released by way of FOIA. So there's just a whole host of topics in the Illinois legislature right now bubbling through that we need to pay attention to. You can see on the poison control issue, there are actually three bills. There's a sister bill, House, Senate, to basically take 2 cents from our 73 cents from wireless to fund the Illinois Poison Control Center. Keep in mind that the current legislation for wireless 911 only affects downstate ETSBs. In other words, Chicago is completely excluded from this bill, meaning Chicago itself is not paying a dime for this poison control deal. It's fully on the backs of the rest of the state. What's being passed out is what Illinois Poison Control Center has been used as some of their propaganda. They call it the 2 cent solution. The 2 cent solution is actually the second bite of the apple, because the federal government has set aside $30 million for the 54 poison control centers nationwide. That's bite one. That's already been approved. Bite two is the fact that the same rep proposed a $1.3 million direct grant from IDPH to help fund them. So the 2 cent solution is actually the third bite of the same apple to get more money for the Poison Control Center. No one is discounting the work, the fine work that the Poison Control Center does in the state of Illinois, and especially the Chicagoland area. What is in dispute is they're telling people that we don't need 2 cents from 911, and they need it more than we do. So it's a pretty hot topic. The mother of Association of the Illinois Poison Control Center carries a lot of weight. The MCHC, Metropolitan Chicago Health Council, is a big lobbyist group. Carry a lot of weight. They've sought endorsements from EMS and fire agencies. The EMS agencies are taking the approach that if the Poison Control Center folds, it'll create more 911 calls. Well, that's kind of you can't prove a negative. You can't prove what's going to happen to poison control.
That's what my problem primarily isn't that the true statement that we need the money more than they do. That's not even my problem. My problem is that 911 surcharge funds were voted on by referendum across the state for purposes of 911. Didn't have anything to do with the Poison Control Center and whether or not they need our funds. Whether or not they need funds is relevant to us. They shouldn't be getting 911 funds. End of story.
And,
Any more than anybody else will.
the first sentence of our legislation declares that it's a federal mandate that poison control is part of 911. I can't find it, and I've asked her to explain it to me. She hasn't responded with an explanation why
Nobody
she would
can
say that.
explain how it
Well,
is because it's
yeah,
not.
but she put it into her bill and said, hey, everybody, there's a federal mandate that.
Pretty soon they're gonna come back and say animal control is part of 911.
Well, The next one you're gonna get, as soon as this gets approved, I'm gonna give them that 2 cents. The next people you're gonna hear from is the deaf community is gonna want 2 cents
It's
for
gonna
no
open up
texting.
floodgate.
And after the 2 cents for the texting people goes, then like I said, I don't know who animal control goes, but you know that the senior group and the hard of hearing group is waiting for their 2 cents as soon as that.
And they may even have a better argument because
Well, they would.
that's an ADA and equal access type argument. I could
TTYs and TTD.
exactly. I would
I
have
could almost support that.
Exactly.
Do poison control, but the point is, it's gonna be the next 2 cents, there's no doubt about it, they're just waiting.
The statistics about how often 911 dispatchers have to call the poison control center, which is never, should make this argument for us. Unfortunately, people are not listening.
So the hearing is at 1 o'clock in Springfield today. Some of you have signed petitions that express your opinion, we appreciate that very much. We'll listen in on the call, you can do it by the internet, since we're not gonna have an evening meeting. We've been in close touch with Senator Barentino Tarrant and asked for her full support. She's on that, she's the only representative we have on that committee from the county.
She understands her still.
I'm sure she understands that point. I was on her Facebook page last night asking her again, so.
Sorry.
You know, we'll just have to kind of watch and see. I just think we're way too little and way too late. I think MCHC had a head start, they're massive. They've got the fire service behind them and a lot of the politicians. We've got 2 of our county legislators are co-signers of the bill, so it's just, I think we're way behind getting ahead of this.
And this kind of points out what we've been disappointed in on our APCO-NENA Joint Legislative Committee is it's too little too late quite often. They don't have enough horsepower to get the job done, even though they go, 911 goes to Springfield and 911 goes to Washington, they do all those events, but the list I got that I put together, looking at the stuff coming out of the fire service folks, the stuff that I was able to identify directly affecting 911 was probably 18 bills, something like that.
At least, yeah.
And they're only concentrating on 3, basically, which is the poison control issue, the lifting of the sunset and the wireless stuff, and possibly one other.
The non-sweep.
The non-sweep. So it's just not enough horsepower, and God bless them. I mean, they all say, we're volunteers, we're busy, we're all busy, but we need to get a little bit better handle on this, and I was pushing for them to get stuff with, getting stuff keyed up, ready to go in front of our local reps in the December timeframe. Just to get their attention to say, look, we're looking for a bill coming up, and then hopefully things start to come out in January. Well, when things really started coming out in January, one of the first things out of the box was this poison control stuff. So we were behind the 8 ball from the get-go. So,
Steve, who are the 2 legislators in federal from the county?
That co-sponsored it. It was
I think Larry Walsh Jr.
Larry Walsh Jr. and
McGuire.
McGuire. Yeah, thank you. I had mine took my time, couldn't get it out. And I'm not faulting them because the presentation made by MCHC was very well done, very professional, very well organized, stating their case, how important poison control is, what they do, how often they do it, and that they need the money or they're going to shut their doors. Didn't go into a lot of detail where the money's coming from, and then I give an explanation of why that money's being stolen, but that wasn't their job to do. Their job is to raise money. So I don't fault my 2 representatives, other than the fact that I should have been there before the MCHC was there and told them not to sign the bills, and I wasn't. And
I could be wrong, but I mean, it seems a part of the reason that they're doing it this way is that it's this easy established thing. And so, I mean, I guess I'm wondering if there isn't a way to compromise where instead of taking away 2 cents, it automatically increases all the surcharge fees by 2 cents. And then we get our money, they get their easy funding mechanism, and we're talking about 2 cents per line per month. mean, you know, maybe the.
I'm
if we
not-
can't-
We went down that road.
I'm
down
not
that
against
road.
them going to telephone companies for the 2 cents. The point is, we've been shut down in Springfield 4 years in a row because we can't ask for any more than 73 cents. We cannot increase the tax. The legislators have told us every single year, don't dare come to us and ask us for more surcharge, you will not get it passed. And that's what's been happening. It happened again last year. So we
with the-
can't ask for 75 cents or $1 or $2.50 like Chicago has. We can't ask for.
Well,
any more.
and the thing is too, you know, 911 has been patted on the head and say, here, little boy, here's what we're gonna do for you. We're gonna put together a study committee to see what your true costs are and try to get this together. In the meantime, they proposed, allowing us to capture up to 70 cents of the 73 instead of the 58, redistributing that and give a little bit of help to the poorer counties that are having trouble. They're dipping into reserves just to keep their doors open. We've got ETSBs in the state that their revenue doesn't even quite pay for what they have to pay back to AT&T to pay for their own 911 lines. That's how desperate it is downstate. We've done a very good job of being frugal and prudent and do really good long-range planning, all the rest of that stuff. We've been able to keep our heads above water. Others have not. So we've been told, and as Steve said, the last 4 years, it's been beat into our head, do not raise any taxes, do not raise any taxes. So between abolishing the sweep, which has been an absolute joke in the state, we're only one of 4 states that still sweeps funds and uses the 911 stuff inappropriately. We're trying to get that corrected. The impact of that is if they sweep the wireless fund, the FCC categorizes us as being unstable, and so it makes Illinois ineligible for any additional federal funding to improve wireless funding. So not only did we get the funding swept
We're just having a discussion.
locally, we don't know how much money we've lost federally over the last 3 years because none of us have been eligible for federal funding. So the no sweep has got to be supported. We have to maintain that, and if they can get off dead center on the 70 cents to give us more of the 73, that would be helpful. So
I think maybe where Steve was going, our new NENA president, Sandy Vitale from Mobile County, she's very proactive and very interested. She actually sat in on the Illinois Public Education Committee meeting yesterday, which was the first time that the president of NENA sat in on a committee meeting to listen to what's going on. So I've been talking to her about, I really think it's time that Illinois NENA and maybe I can combine, but we need somebody full-time to manage this load. There's no way that a volunteer committee can handle. We're getting bills in the hopper on Friday. There must have been 6 or 8 bills. There's probably more today. It's just, there's no way volunteers can do this. There's no way that the president can be expected to be accountable for all of this. And so, Steve and I are old fire guys, but we keep constantly referring to the legislative committee and the NENA board and the APCO board that they should take a look at the fire service and the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association. I've been an executive director. He does an outstanding job. He gives them all their legislation. They have a symposium. They sit down in here and say, what do we want? What do we need? They compile it all. He puts together an Excel spreadsheet and he posts the position that the chiefs are going to take on each bill, when they're going to be in committee, what you need to do if you're going to go down and talk or not. And then throughout the year, he's constantly there working for them as their voice in their ear on any issue that comes up.
Do we need a person?
Yeah, I think we
Or
need.
do we hire a firm?
Well, I think
Do
we
we
need.
go to a lobbyist?
Well,
That way if they're being ineffective.
No, we've got a lot. We've won our second lobbyist in 2 years. Our current lobbyist is Madigan's former chief of staff, and as far as I'm concerned, has not done a thing for us. He's supposed to be a great guy to have on board because he had the indoor track and he wrote some legislation, but then now he's got a bill number to it. But I don't think he's doing anything like the fire chiefs have a lobbyist too. She had a forum with the fire chiefs a few months ago over at Frankfurt Fire Department. We went and listened. She had some of our local representatives and senators there. They put down a list of what they were concerned about. They presented that list to them. One of the concerns of the fire chiefs that affects us is that the tollway and IDOT have video feeds. You see them on the news every night, showing what the traffic is. And we don't have access into a PSAP or to an agency to get that video feed. They heard that. She contacted all the fire chiefs on Friday and said, by the way, here's that bill. It's bill so-and-so supporting that if IDOT and the toll authority have a video feed, make it available to your 911 agencies. You know, they're doing something. We haven't done a thing. And so I told her, I can't speak for you, but in my mind, I think we'd be more willing to pay a little bit more into our fees statewide to get somebody in there that can do this job full time. And I don't care if it's a firm or a person, just as soon as it be a person. I gotta believe there's a retired 911 guy floating around that could do this, that would be wanting to do it, or someone with a 911 interest. But we just can't keep fighting this battle with amateur tools that we're using in the archaic way we're doing it. I mean, they just now, last weekend put out this big, notify everybody about poison control. That's been out there since last summer. This just didn't start last week. They've been working on this for 8 months. And we've all known about it for 8 months. They haven't put anything out there about the sweep bill too much. I mean, they just, like I said, Steve said, they tell us that they're very busy, they have families, they have snowstorms, they have lives. I can appreciate that, but it's just a volunteer committee, and our expectations of the results are higher than we should be. They just aren't performing. So I don't know if she's going to listen to me. A lot of people don't at that level. It's a kind of a good old boys club, and I'm not in it. But we're hoping that maybe we can learn some lessons. I'm fairly convinced. I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but I'm pretty convinced that we just lost 2 cents. I don't see how we're going to stop it. But
And it completely undermines last year's legislation that established the 911 study group. Governor, by public act, the governor appointed a committee to study this, and they kind of put a freeze on a lot of stuff until the committee could get good data under their belt to justify us getting more money for 911. This completely undermines the work of that governor's appointed committee. In other words, it says, well, you guys can study all you want. In the meantime, we're gonna steal 2 cents right out from under you. So it actually goes against what the governor wanted to see done. You'll also note that probably nowhere in the legislation will the Poison Control Center be required to submit an audit on how they use that money. And if you look at the mother company that runs that Poison Control Center, they're well into the black. We can't figure out why they need this money. So it's an interesting set of circumstances. But
and there's tons of arguments. I mean, there's 54 poison control centers in the United States, 1 in Illinois. Until recently, the downstate agencies were reporting to St. Louis, but because they want to take the money, they realized they had to change it over. Now the calls downstate come to Chicago, so that we can't claim that they're not coming to Chicago. But like Steve said, the president just gave $50 million in the middle of January in grants, and we're being pushed in 911 to consolidate. This board, as far as I know, is the only ETSB in the state of Illinois that offers consolidation incentives and buyouts and is pushing it. The advisory board's talking about consolidation and what they should set up and how they, the biggest thing they have is what incentives should we provide to have somebody consolidate. And I'm going like, we've been doing it for years.
You know, over time, the incentives to consolidate will increase.
But my point on it is that if I swallow a bottle of pills in Connecticut and I swallow a bottle of pills in Oregon, what difference does it make? So why do we need 54 agencies doing the same thing? Why? And there's no pressure on them to consolidate. It's a business. It's like, we're getting shoved. We got to consolidate, and they're getting, oh yeah, you need more money.
And they're getting paid from the hospital groups, or they've got grants from private industry.
Well, I looked at,
Stuff.
again, one night I did a Google search on poison control funding under 54. There's only one state in the United States that even offers 911 funding towards poison control, and that's Utah, and they take 9.5% of their pre-phone charges. When you go to Walmart and buy a
Prepaid?
Prepaid. They give them 9.5% of their prepaid cards from their big boxes, which in Illinois would be nothing for us. No other state, all the other states are funded through state public health and the hospitals. I mean, that's where it belongs. But we've been trying to get this word out now. Steve woke up our Illinois associations over the weekend, and we've been trying to put together a list. This is old. This is already old. I apologize, but there's already a handful more bills here that we should talk about. Trying to give you what our position is, and what the synopsis of bills are, because it's hard for everybody else to nobody has time to go down and read all this stuff. But we hope that we can get your support, that's why we're looking for the endorsements. We'll see how these meetings go, but again, I just don't think the way Neenah and Illinois are organized is gonna be successful if we continue without some changes in how we manage the associations. And I think we're managing our associations very poorly.
Okay, a few other things that have come up. The FOIA Act, they want to exempt copying 911 recording with certain exceptions. I think that should be supported. There's a few others there. The big one coming down the pike is going up to the 70 cents, the full 70 of the 73 instead of 58, giving counties under 25,000 an additional penny. Just 2 cents, and then 1 cent for ICC to administer it all. It seems to be a compromise, but I'll let you read all that stuff. But so there were some motions to try to get some legislative stuff. By the time we meet again on Monday, this is all going to be stale. So don't know what's happening with the committee work today, especially on poison control. So there was also action being requested for us, and Tom brought this to us as far as endorsement of Will County Chief of Police Association for critical incidents pre-alert using leads type 3 messages. That's kind of a no-brainer. We should all support that, and it's not official doctrine, but it's just support for that plan.
And Tom, just so you know, we don't have a quorum, so we're just discussing. We're going to reconvene the meeting at 12:30 on Monday, and then we'll get a motion on the agenda for Thursday.
So I think we plowed through the agenda items. We can't take any action on anything. It was good discussion, but anybody have anything else to bring up for the long-range plan?
I have one small thing, and it's not related to the agenda. Obviously, it's just maybe a suggestion to staff that we amend the bylaws of the board to allow the chair of the board to sit ex officio on all committees.
Thought that was.
His point was that since I'm here and I
You
can
could-
vote that I should
we
help
would
with the
have-
quorum or whatever, but I don't know.
If it's ex officio, you can't count for the quorum, though.
I what?
If it's ex officio, you can't count as part of the quorum.
Maybe I'm not using the precise term, but there is a term where
I didn't know how.
the chairman of the board is not counted towards the quorum, but can count towards the quorum if they attend the meeting, and they are allowed to vote. It's the arrangement that we have with the county board. The chairman of the board actually doesn't sit on any of the committees other than the executive committee, but can attend for quorum and vote purposes.
I'd like to run that by John. I'm not opposed to it, but
sure.
I don't
No,
know.
I'm just saying.
It might just be easier
If
to
we-
make her a committee member on all the committees, but I think we're saying the same thing maybe, so.
Okay, and either way is fine. Julie's always here, and it would solve the issue we have at hand, and I don't think it's the first time it's come up. So.
No, I think what's really important, and I think it's probably personnel, but this is the time of year where we're going to solicit for, we have 6 board members that are going to be reappointed, hopefully on Thursday or in March by the county board. We're going to be asking through the personnel committee to any nominations for chair and vice chair. I'll contact the chairs of our committees and see if they're interested in staying on as chairs. And then we have to look at the committee structures. We ask you, if you want to switch or do something, take a look. I know Kim's asked to be on technology, which is fine. So, but we maybe have to take a look at our committees. We've got some members who never show up on our committees, and it's taking a toll. Today, 2 of the people that usually don't show up didn't show up, and we don't have a quorum. So maybe we have to take a look at our committee structure a little bit too, and our own management, and decide our committees and who's on the committees, and see if we can make that a little bit better decision in April. So.
Okay. Anything else for this group to kick around but not take action on?
No, but for not having a quorum, we went over.
Sorry. Well, maybe the chairman of the ETSB should not attend, so that they can go a little faster. What do you think, Julie?
I didn't say very much.
Every little bit counts.
Let's see if we discuss something.
Okay. So thank you.
Can adjourn a meeting that wasn't.
Again, adjourn meeting didn't exist, so we stopped discussion at 12:16.
Personnel, as usual.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah. So that way we can see what we said.
Yeah.
But that's done, actually, that is done in closed session to approve the closed session, correct? Or not?
Well, no, we did, it was a closed session.
Gotcha.
We have 6 months to issue
Right.
Yeah, we've done this before, I don't think we went into a closed
the
session.
minutes. We just need you to approve the minutes so they
Yep.
can become part of the record.
Here you go, sir.
Yeah.
Here you go. Oops.
How do you discuss closed meeting
Thank you.
minutes?
Without
You
being
know,
in
so
closed
I
session.
I think all we're looking for is approval. I mean, now it's just gonna be discussion. I don't know if we're going to closed session to approve the minutes of the closed session.
I've got an idea.
I know you do. And I think we're gonna have to, and you're the chair of the committee, so I think that's a good idea, and you're gonna have to do it anyways, so you probably should just do it.
Okay.
When we convene.
You ready, Karen?
Oh, wow.
You're ready? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
so sorry, honey.
Are we missing anybody?
Yeah.
Nick just walked out.
Missing.
Nick went.
Please help me. Please.
Karen, can I call personnel committee meeting to order at 12:19?
You sure can. Okay. Ms. Buzan?
Here.
Ms. Simpson?
Here.
Mr. Palmer?
Here.
Ms. Ponce Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Riddle?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
Here.
Ms. Seehausen is absent. Ms. Thuringer?
Here.
And Mr. Exner and Mr. Conrad are absent.
Okay, seeing we have a quorum, can I get a motion to go into executive session in accordance with the Illinois Open Meetings Act to discuss personnel issues, including pay and benefits, and the approval of minutes from a prior meeting in executive session discussing the same?
So moved. Second.
Motion,
Kim and
Kim.
Kim.
second, Kim.
And how you do it, motion.
You're not it, but I will. Okay. Yeah.
We're good. We're fine.
Okay, and then, do you want to do another roll call, or an all in favor? What do you want to do? Let's do a roll call. Let's do a roll call. Roll call for executive. Please.
Okay. Ms. Buzan? Ms.
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Ponce Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?